Okay, gonna go live in 3, 2, 1. Take it away.
I'm really waiting for the week where after the sync test I say take us out or make us ready, Kai, and you're just like, oh yeah, we're already going. I'm waiting for that week, and I thought it'd be this week. Guess not.
I mean, we were live for 13 minutes before they could actually hear us because Jason was stuck in fucking 7 stand user and taking forever.
Yep, I was stuck.
Hello and welcome.
It was the work of an enemy stand.
Hello and welcome to I really want to stand really badly, and I'm going to pout and shout until I get one. The government owes me a stand. International, weekly, bi-weekly, semi-hourly podcast.
It's quite the name.
Yeah, it's really.
So we're Vegeta with Super Saiyan.
Yeah, basically, if that's
right,
my
cool.
character arc, I'll take it.
All right,
If it's
cool.
especially if it gets me a stand.
So you gotta go to another planet and just punch things until you get a stand.
I have to whine, bitch, and moan and cry until I get it, and then I get a
Go
stand.
make friends with Elon Musk. Like,
I
hey,
want to
buddy,
be a Super Saiyan.
can you send me to Mars so I can just start punching the shit out of the planet?
He might do it. He likes Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh, he'd be down.
Honestly, he seems like the kind of guy that would be really into JoJo.
He
I
probably
can see
would.
it.
I don't know if he's seen it though.
Yeah, true.
Anyways, hello, welcome to the Redacted podcast. My name is Matthew. Just go around once again.
I'm Kai.
It's Jason.
And we were gone last week because we have terrible planning skills.
That's true. Yeah.
Jason has a cough.
I do have a cough.
Tell us
It's
more about your
not
cough.
great. It happens every couple minutes consistently.
Would you have
It's
to
a
say
really light
it's
one.
related to your diaphragm?
Yes, it definitely seems to be a diaphragm issue.
Does it does the image of the diaphragm or the spoken word of diaphragm ever bring up traumatic memories?
Not particularly for me. No.
You sure?
I imagine it might for you. Yeah.
Really, I was actually a doctor for diaphragms for a brief amount of time, actually.
You know
I
what?
actually thought it was a very therapeutic experience.
Did you forget
Listen.
that, Jason?
I didn't forget about it. It just wasn't very traumatic. It was mildly traumatic, so it doesn't bring up the memory every time. But
I think
listen, man,
that was
I
the
hate
least traumatic
hiccups.
thing that happened to you that night, if we're going to be
I
honest.
don't
Probably
want to
was.
talk about it. God damn it!
Cross that shit out. Redacted. Fuck it.
It's redacted. Fuck it. We're
How you
done
doing,
here,
guys?
Doing pretty all right.
Jesus
How are you?
Christ.
I've been all right. Me and Kai have already been talking a little bit because
Hmm.
I was here at 6.
And I'm late as usual.
That's no worries.
Oh.
We had a weird ass schedule this week. Also, if you keep coughing or grunting into the mic, I'm going to find you and stab you. I know where you live. It's. Do you really want to play this game, Jay? I am on the brink of losing my place in society and/or my will to live. I will take this
Oh,
joke
no.
to the full extreme.
Oh no.
Hey, Matt, if you want to
He's not
hold
joking.
off for 2 months, and then I'll be back and I can help you kill him.
Ah, God
We can
damn
take
it.
him together.
Yay! Double murder, not suicide. Didn't say suicide. No one said that.
We can do double suicide afterwards also if you want.
I think the more
I'm
important part was I said double murder.
Yes.
Not double murder.
I mean, sure, if you plan on killing someone also afterwards. Fuck it.
Guy, there's an implication there.
What's better than one murder? 2.
It's better than
I feel
2,
like-
3.
I feel like this is invoking a dream I had recently. I swear I must have killed someone in my sleep or in my dreams again and had terrible regrets about it.
Oh God, what have I done?
No, that is a legit nightmare I have every once in a while where I kill someone and then I'm just racked with grief and regret.
Jesus.
It's not a great dream.
No, not really.
I don't know. I think that's pretty baller.
Is it? I don't really want to keep fighting my conscience on the idea that I just brutally slaughtered people.
I think you're doing all right.
Yeah, because I woke up.
Yeah, I think you're doing all right.
Fuck, alright.
Fine.
How was your weeks? What the fuck did you do?
What did I do? What did I do?
Jason, once again, is suffering early onset stages of Alzheimer's and is having
That is very true.
a really difficult time remembering what he should have done in the week. And pro tip, what you should have done is eaten more carrots. Because I'm pretty sure that helps with memory.
Isn't that
Either
eyesight?
I know they help eyesight, but I'm pretty sure it's also
Is it really
it's
also?
either that or spinach. One of those
Listen,
helps.
it
your
helps.
memory.
It helps with both your regular eyes and your third eye,
The memory
Right.
eye.
your memory eye. No, I did a lot since the last podcast.
One of which is you went on vacation and died.
Yes, I went to Anime Boston for 3 days, and the day that ended, I went to New York for 3 days. And then I came back, had... What did I do? I've done things over the last couple days, but I can't remember what they were. But I can tell you that this morning, for the first time, I have ingested alcohol before 11 a.m.
Oh God.
Because I had a like breakfast cocktail. It was actually quite wonderful. It was coffee liqueur in coffee, which was nice.
Jason is
So.
slowly becoming an alcoholic.
Listen.
not very slow.
Listen. I can stop whenever I want.
That's
don't
the
know if I
perfect
believe that.
line because it's just whenever you want. You don't want to stop.
Whenever I want to stop, I am able to, gentlemen. Don't worry about me. Yeah,
Christ.
no, I did some really cool things in New York. I went to go see To Kill a Mockingbird on Broadway, which was really nice. That was a wonderful experience. And then I also went to the a J.R.R. Tolkien exhibit at the Morgan Museum and Library in New York City, which was really cool. I got to see a lot of J.R.R. Tolkien's hand.
Listen, Jay. You've been parked here far too fucking long. You gotta move through that light, man.
I gotta move through the light. I'm sorry, guys. My window is open, and I didn't realize that until just now. No, I got to see a lot of Tolkien's like handwritten notes, and a lot of stuff like he had hand drawn maps of Middle Earth, and he drew them all on grid paper. But it was really interesting when he wanted to make a change, he would just cut out a small square of grid paper and then plaster it over like a treasure map. It
That's
was
cool.
absolutely fascinating to see.
Tolkien was a historian before he was a writer, so the way he built his worlds was really interesting from that kind of scientific approach that he took to it.
Well, he started building Middle Earth when he was like 14. The first thing that he started with was creating the language of the elves, and then he created the entire language, and then after that he wrote parts of the Silmarillion, then The Hobbit, then Lord of the Rings way after. And it's really fascinating to see how like his work progressed, because he was an artist as well, but his art, everything that he did, funneled into his creation of Middle Earth, from that young age. And even when he was in the trenches of war in World War I, he still was writing and constantly creating Middle Earth the whole time. It was really inspirational to see how consistently he was working on it, but it also took him forever to work on anything. But it was absolutely fascinating. There was literally a page that was preserved, and it literally was the first time that he wrote the Lord of the Rings down on paper. And it was this piece of paper that says "The Magic Ring," and it's crossed out, and underneath it is "The Lord of the Rings," and it's just like, yes, this is a much better title. It was so great to like. It was so funny to see. Yeah, it was really cool.
That sounds really fucking cool.
There were a bunch of maps, and so I'm a pretty big Tolkien fan. My mother is a massive Tolkien fan. She has the White Tree of Gondor tattooed in white ink on her arm. She's read every piece by him ever. She's the biggest Tolkien fan I have ever met, and it was really cool to see her, like, because she started to tear up a few times seeing some of the stuff, because it was all stuff that came from his personal notes, right there, less than less than a couple inches away from my hand, which is absolutely incredible to see. It was so cool. Yeah, it was just awesome. It was a really cool experience to see that. Yeah,
Pretty fucking rad.
yeah, no, it was so
I like
cool.
that shit.
Also, they had his. So this is a fun thing about Tolkien that I learned. So he went to. Oh God, what was the college that he went to? It was. What was the name of the college? I assume that the ticky tack is Kai looking it up.
Yes. The University of Oxford.
Yes, he went to Oxford. So when he went to Oxford, they didn't have doctorates. But he kept going to classes and learning, and he was a very popular member of the community. And so after they had adopted a doctorate program, even though he was no longer there, they sent him robes well after that, and gave him a doctorate in
That's cool.
yeah, whatever field it was that or whatever it was that they gave him a doctorate in. But it was really, like, I thought that was really cool, and they had his robes, like his robes that he wore there,
Cool.
next to a picture of him wearing it. Yeah, there was also a bunch of really cool writing things. One thing that I thought was absolutely incredible was a picture that he drew, and his son had this, like, reoccurring nightmare where an owl would sit perched like in his room and would just stare at him, and it was a big fucking scary owl, and no one would really take it seriously and just be like, oh, yeah, sorry you had a bad dream. But in order to conquer this, Tolkien had him describe it in as much detail as he could while he was sketching it out, and he drew the owl and then made the physical manifestation of the owl appear, and his son just kind of stared at it for a little bit and was like, all right, I'm not scared of this anymore. Here it is. And then
That's
they
cool.
like hung it up in their house.
Destroy the unknown.
Yeah, exactly. It was like and the whole thing was like underneath it was like a little plaque that, like, his wife had written about how he was, one of the only people to take children so seriously because they had such a unique
Perspective.
connection. Yeah, perspective and connection to their imagination that he shared, despite being an adult. So he could see the wonder, and he had a really good, like, interaction with children because of it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was like I was absolutely blown away. I couldn't take any pictures or anything, or I'd have them, like, up right now, but it was so great to see. There was a guy that was walking around, like, watching me because I had my phone out the whole time. But yeah, it was awesome.
That's really
It
cool.
was really cool. Yeah, and
I like
to
his work.
see a lot of the stuff that he, like, painted or drew on or doodled was incredible. He would draw on, like, anything that he could get his hands on, just to get better and improve to write, and to appropriately show his story the way that he wanted to, and project it into the world the way that he meant it to be projected. He used a lot of watercolors, actually, which was something that was really interesting to me. Was, like, primarily whenever he had any art that was drawn, it was like 80% of it was watercolors.
That's cool. I like
Yeah.
watercolors. It's fun to use.
Yeah, it was just, it wasn't something that I was expecting from Middle Earth. You see Lord of the Rings and you don't really think watercolors, but it was really cool. He also on the page for the Mines of Moria. You guys are, like, both know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I just finished my rewatch of the Lord of the Rings trilogy
Cool.
earlier this week.
And Matt, you know what the Mines of Moria are in
No, I
the
do
Lord of
not.
the Rings, right?
They
Okay.
called it a mine.
Mine. So the Mines of Moria it was basically a stronghold underneath a mountain. It was a small city for the dwarves, and there was an entrance to it that was technically below the mountain, that was guarded by like a sea creature, and the way that that it worked is it would only appear at night. The door would only appear at night, and you had to be able to read Elvish to open the door. And in Elvish on it, it says "Speak, friend, and enter." So he originally wanted that page and that page alone to be black with white writing on it to like show
That's
the
cool.
like the hidden nature of it, but he couldn't get that to happen because it would have been way too expensive. And after that, he then instead applied that to the original book covers and made the book covers black with white writing on them.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, it was a cool thing to see too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just a great experience. That was probably the thing that I had the most to talk about from New York.
Yeah.
To Kill a Mockingbird was amazing. I don't know if either of you guys know that story.
I've heard of it, but I've never read it or anything.
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
read it in fucking 6th grade.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think I ever had to read it at school.
So my mother, the original movie, was my mother's favorite movie. It was published in 1960, but it's set in 1939. No, the 1930s. And it's from the perspective of a 10-year-old girl that whose father, Atticus Finch, was a lawyer. And he took a defense case for a black man that was innocent of the crime that he was accused of. And the whole thing is about the defense and the case ongoing, and it deals with, you know, a lot of the racial prejudices, despite evidence of him being innocent, him still being prosecuted extremely heavily just because he's black, despite there being evidence of like the impossibility of him committing the crime. It's really great. I highly recommend reading it or watching the movie. The reason that they did the play on Broadway is because Harper Lee wrote another book more recently that was about. So Atticus Finch is based on her father, who is a lawyer, and she always looked up to. And so when she wrote To Kill a Mockingbird, she had already moved out, and she was had this idealized version of her father, and that's what Atticus was based on. And then later on, she went back home and spent a prolonged period of time there, and she realized a lot of things about her father. In real life, Harper Lee really went back and realized a whole bunch of things about her father, and a lot of her ideologies of her father were incorrect, and he was a lot more human than she ever realized, which caused her to write another book in the To Kill a Mockingbird chronology, which showed Atticus Finch in a much less noble light. So the play was meant to be more in line with Atticus as a human than as like this righteous man that was, you know, the best of his time at the time.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really nice to like. It was really cool to see it. And Jeff Daniels, I'm a big fan of him. He's an actor. He was in The Newsroom. Was the lead Atticus. It was fantastic to go see it. It was one of the better things that I've seen on Broadway, which was absolutely incredible. And yeah, I highly recommend it.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. What about you guys? Did you guys do anything fun or unique this week?
Like I said earlier, mentioned earlier, I finished my rewatch of Lord of the Rings. Very good. Enjoyed it. I want to rewatch them already again. And then otherwise though, obviously a lot of Destiny, practicing Crucible to try and finally get this quest done, maybe. and then I went to a party last night because I was told I could have food.
Oh boy.
Ah, yes.
I was about to be
You were
like
telling me
Kai the
about
party
that.
boy.
Yeah, it was a Passover Seder thing that my sister was doing, and she's like, yeah, we got food and we can play some games. And I was like, yeah, I'll go
Now, I
for
know-
food and board games.
Now I know Seder doesn't mean what I think it does, but when you said Passover Seder, I immediately thought of Phil from Hercules.
God damn it.
Oh,
So good. Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito.
Yeah, it's actually Passover is just the celebration of Danny DeVito.
Yeah, little known fact about us Jews, we really like Danny DeVito.
Is Danny DeVito Jewish?
Big fan. Dude, I forgot it was Passover until my sister was like, hey, so we're having a Seder. Do you want to come over?
Yeah, same.
I was like, oh, that is a thing.
Well, say goodbye to your firstborn child then, I guess.
Oof.
Oof. It's a boof, guys.
Oof.
That's a oof from me, boys.
Yeah. Oh, also, that's another thing that I did this week. So last night and today, I was hanging out with Miko, and we wound up watching
Oh.
Doom.
Lots of gay porn.
Yes. No, the like the Doom movie made in like the early 2000s, or like it was like 2006 or something. Have either of you guys seen that movie?
I know of its existence.
I was
Yeah.
expecting something much worse from the start of the story.
No. But I did. It's a movie that has Dwayne the Rock Johnson in it.
Mhm.
And then after that, we watched another The Rock movie. It was Skyscraper, and then we watched another Dwayne Johnson movie, and we realized something. Every single movie that Dwayne Johnson is in is the same exact character. It's the same guy, just throughout different stages in his life, doing different things.
So
And now I can't.
You're
I
telling
can't watch
me
a movie.
that Dwayne The Rock Johnson is just acting as Dwayne The Rock Johnson, progressing through his life through movies.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. I cannot ever watch a Dwayne Johnson movie anymore without like thinking that it's the same guy every time. There's a moment
Christ.
we started Skyscraper, and there's like, it's really serious in the first like 5 minutes of it, and then there's one scene where like a guy is in complete tactical gear and he like moves his mask out of his face, and it was Dwayne Johnson, and Miko didn't know that it was another like Dwayne Johnson movie. And he moved it and just went, that's it. I don't know what this movie is about anymore. It could be literally anything now. And that was like the whole time he was like, all right, so there's going to be like aliens or like giant what is this movie going to be? And then it was just about him literally just climbing a giant skyscraper.
All right.
Jesus Christ.
Every single one of the obstacles that he needed to face, he just climbed over.
All right.
If it makes
Good.
you feel any better about that, he only had one leg. The other one was prosthetic, so I guess climbing would be a little bit harder, but still.
A little bit. It's kind of hard. Unrelated, there's a Disney movie about eugenics called Sky High.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think you mean My Hero Sky High.
Yeah, My Hero Academia Disney version. The
Sky
Disney
High
the Disney
Academia?
adaptation. Yes.
It's a Netflix original.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, jeez.
It's actually just a movie about straight up eugenics, but that's a topic for later when I've actually watched that film. Which
You haven't watched it?
I've watched it
okay,
so many
no,
times.
I have watched Sky High, right? But the last time I've seen Sky High was when I was like 14, if not. Like, that is not in my mind anymore.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen it in a really long time either.
Okay, all right. I think we need to set up like a group watching of Sky High.
It can be after the breed event. The breeding. The
Good lord.
Breen Horizon.
The more that I think about Sky High, the more I think about the fact that it is actually just My Hero Academia.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that's just it.
Like,
My Hero Academia fucking stole the idea from Sky
yeah,
High.
kind of. Like the main character, like
God,
the
get
main,
your own ideas.
The main character has like strength and speed, and then his rival character makes fiery explosions come out of his like hands.
It's Deku and Bakugo.
Yeah, his
There was
dad
an
is
Ida.
Superman.
Oh my god. I really want to
my
get
God, there
a
was.
Sky High like sticker plushie of the Bakugo character and give it to Kelsey.
That would be so good.
Like, hey, I got you a Bakugo present.
Yeah, you a
Discount.
Bakugo gift.
The most discount, like, Chinese, but American knockoff.
That'd be great.
Oh my god. That's right. His name is War and Peace.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, and the leather jacket with the like the red tinge in his hair. I forgot about this movie.
I feel like there was a character in that movie that my friend Angela would tell me I looked like, and I can't remember who it was.
It was secretly you as the conformist in that film.
I actually was in the film.
So
If
you
you don't
actually
like
were in
cast,
the
you'll
film.
find me.
Hard facts.
Your superpower took hold and it conformed you into the movie.
I also watched that movie Ready Player One. I haven't read the book. The movie was alright.
Moving on.
That's all I really have to say. Yeah.
Anything else on your week, Kai?
No.
All right.
Not that I can think of.
I have avoided doing work for 4 days. Not Kai has remembered something.
Wait, no, I'm so sorry. I just found fan art of Sky High, but it's My Hero styled.
I just found that same thing right now too.
And that will be the thumbnail.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna put it on stream and I'll send it to you.
Please
Matt.
do,
Yep.
please do. I'm sending it over now.
Oh yeah, you send it.
Oh my god, it's so good.
I've avoided doing work for 4 days. And in those 4 days, I have finished many manga and many anime series.
That makes sense.
The two most notable are Yosaku no Neverland, or The Promised Neverland, and I don't actually know the one in Japanese, so I'm just going to say its name in English. It's fucking the Saga of Tanya the Evil. Then I read more Overlord and the light novel. I really like isekais a lot. They're fun. I don't really think Yosaku no Neverland's an isekai, though. That one's good, though. I like it a lot. If you haven't seen it, you should probably watch it. I condone the genocide that is an option select in that series. Yeah, it's bait and switch, Kai. You thought it was probably about Tanya no Evil with a fucking not Germany? Ha, nah. Me and Kai were having the conversation before you fucking came in, and I told him that one of the series I watched had genocide, and I told him to guess. I didn't say which one until now. Look at me. Tanya the Evil is about fucking
Let me talk about genocide.
not Germany and not World War I, but there is one singular lolly, and there is magic, but it's like technologically enhanced magic. It's basically how you would imagine magic being implemented in World War I. Please imagine that, I guess.
I wish there was magic in World War One.
And Tanya the Evil's for you, I guess. You ever wanted to be isekai'd after having a successful life as a fucking office worker in your fucking mid-40s, and then having a rebellious god be like, why ain't you faithful? And then fucking make you a child in a world with magic, and then set you into war. Yeah, that's that series right there.
I really like isekais that aren't actually isekais. Like, is it wrong to try and pick up girls in a dungeon? It plays itself like an isekai, but it's not an isekai.
It's just more the generic fantasy setting, I guess, or game fantasy setting.
Yeah,
Makes
exactly.
If you haven't watched Konosuba yet, you should totally watch that.
Konosuba. Someone else recommended that to me.
If you
recently. I can't remember
like
what
not isekai, you'll really like Konosuba. Because as much as Konosuba is a comedy, it's also just a really like fun adventure.
it is. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
But not in the stereotypical way at all. It's a good series. Fucking Overlord is also fucking phenomenal, and I recommend anyone to read that shit. Shit's good.
I need to catch up on the anime for that.
And I just straight up, just read it. Read the light novel. It's good stuff. It has a lot more detail.
I'm sure that it does. I'm sure that it does.
There's a button
Just leave
there,
it at
but
that.
you're afraid to show it.
No, I mean, like, I really
Eh.
like the animation for it, so, like, I feel like I would enjoy it less if it was not so well visually represented to me.
All right, fair enough.
Like, until I, like, got more attached. Hi. Oh,
Bless you.
God
Gesundheit.
damn it.
I
Thank
actually
you.
don't own that many knives right now, so you're kind of lucky. I'm still mad that the one really nice carpenter knife I owned was taken by the police.
Yep.
That's a story that just doesn't need explanation, so we're going to move on.
Yeah.
Just leave it on that.
I'm gonna get murdered sometime, guys.
I'll help.
Going back,
is-
because I'm kind of bored of my week, how do you guys feel about My Hero Eugenics Disney? 'Cause I'm starting to just
Sky
get-
High.
Yeah.
We're going back to Sky. Okay, we're going back to Sky High, guys.
Because I'm just kind of bored with my week. I didn't do anything. I just didn't work and read manga all week. So, like, let's go back to eugenics for a minute, shall we?
Good. Excellent. All right. Yep. Here we are. Yes, Matthew. What are we talking about?
Okay. Going back to eugenics, like, in a world of superheroes and superpowers that can be potentially traded off on genetics, how do you feel about eugenics and breeding the ultimate Aryan race? I mean, superhero.
Obviously, obviously, your pure bloodline is all that really matters in the world.
I mean,
True.
legitimately, when it, like... So the idea behind the fundamentalism behind the Aryan race is that the Aryan race was fundamentally superior in both a mental and physical, not capacity, but like potential to other races, and that was one of the driving forces to create the Aryan race, and to preserve the Aryan race. But that was based off a lot of those old kind of sciences that were really racist and didn't have a lot of backing.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember the name of it, but there's an old school of science that follows the philosophy of cranial shapes determining overall intelligence and sentience, which was really just a figurehead to be racist to black people. It was like, oh, but if you look at the cranium of a black man, a very, very safe and not harmful word compared to what was actually used in the science, you'll find that it's larger in the hemicranipenis, and it's fucking, that makes them stupid and the equivalent of beasts. So it's okay to slave them.
Yep.
But that coming in, that all understood and that under the rug, how do you feel about the idea of eugenics when there is something very physically represented on the line? Like, we're talking full on, like, breeding for quirks, breeding for superpowers. How does that affect you? How does that make you feel? If there was the potential of enhancing the human race as a whole by the state of eugenics and selective breeding, just, how does that make you feel? Would you do it? Would you not? Is that good? Is that bad? How does eugenics make you feel with superpowers?
I mean, if everybody's like consenting to this, it's fine. If
So-
everybody on the field is like, yeah, this is all right.
All right, so the prohibition of breeding for those who are inferior is perfectly fine, so long as everyone's like, yeah, it's good.
Well,
it-
not so. No.
Well, that is part of the selective or that is part of the idea of the eugenics. You have to filter out the undesirables in the undesirables in the human race who are inadequate to add to the gene pool.
Well, time to fucking go, guys. See you later.
No, Kai! I swear you're fine. Just get a superpower.
Yikes. No, I mean, like, obviously. So that would be like, if it's on a very small scale. So all right.
So,
Doing
like,
it in
define
mass
small
is
scale, right?
So if it's family to family, right? So let's say all right, we'll use My Hero Academia for this purpose. They do cover this. Small spoilers for anyone that hasn't, like, very, very minor spoilers. But Todoroki, one of the most popular characters in the series, son of Endeavor, one of the most popular heroes of all time. Endeavor specifically looked for a partner that would be able to, like, give his child a complementary, like, ability.
Quirk set.
Yes, exactly. That was a family-oriented thing that was his choice to do. That's a small form of eugenics. He wouldn't have had a child with someone that was less...
He didn't complement his quirk as well.
Yeah, that didn't complement his quirk. It is a subset of eugenics. Is that morally wrong? That he decided that he wanted to procreate with someone that would only create a stronger breed. Is that morally wrong?
I mean, in the case of, if we're removing the idea of Endeavor from it, and we're just trying to take the scenario of it, then it depends on the circumstances of what you define as morally acceptable in breeding. And if a lack of love and or lack of care for your partner is acceptable, and we move a little bit past that, then you have to ask, why is one breeding in the first place, right? Is it purely for selfish desire or purpose, or is it for actual love, or is it a narcissistic extension? And in the case of specifically Endeavor, moving back into that, I think he technically was very wrong, because Endeavor, his character did not do this for wholesome reasons.
Yeah.
But in a general, more broad scope, if we just have fucking Earthquake Man, and he wants to fucking fuck Sinkhole Woman to make Ground Manipulation Boy, fucking, if he's doing that completely as an extension of his own self, or where he sees his own failures in life and has that kind of self-extension narcissism onto his own child, then yeah, I say it's completely morally wrong.
He's just trying to get into her sinkhole.
Trying to get into his
I'm glad you made that joke, Kai. I'm glad. Gold star. I think when it comes to the idea of that kind of selective breeding, even without like superpowers in the mix, selective breeding as an extension of your own narcissism, I find is morally dubious at best. Even though, actually, there's even an argument to be made of whether or not having a child is a morally correct action. But as a human-centric individual myself, and supports the human race and genocides of anything else that can compete with us as the apex predator, I say that having a child is technically a morally correct option. But
I mean,
do you disagree?
that's a separate conversation to have, like that. Whether or not having a child in general is morally, like, the morality of it is entirely situational. But I mean, I don't know.
In the grand schemes of things with the human race, I think there is under no circumstances a situation in which a child being born in the universe is detrimental to the human race. Unless that child is capable of actually ending the human race, and only then.
Yeah, I don't agree with that sentiment, but once again, that's a separate conversation than eugenics.
Hey, I mean, if we want to roll into that, we can. We don't have to stay in eugenics. Eugenics can be our springboard for genocidal baby.
So, I mean, like, there are...
genocide of babies?
So
Indian
everyone has
party
a right
for
to
that,
have a
by
child, and you know, procreation is not one of those things that's like that is government centered. You don't have to have a child, and you don't. Actually, no. There are places in the world where you are not allowed to have however many children.
Hey, China.
Yes, China limits you there. But generally speaking, most places you are free to have a child. But it is true that we do have an overpopulation problem in the world now, and the more people there are, the more children there are. and it's an exponential thing. We just grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, and we never have a large culling unless we have something like a plague to combat it. But there's nothing inherently wrong with, you know, wanting to have a child, as long as you can care for the child, raise the child properly, are stable enough to have a child and impart the right values, or are able to be there for the child. If you are not so having a child to have a child, and then raising it, hating it, being an abusive parent, you know, if you're not financially able to have a kid, but you decide to have a kid anyways and be like have to live in poverty the whole time, that's not moral. That's selfish. You are unable to care for the child appropriately, or raise this human. You're only doing it to have a child that you will eventually wind up resenting. So it's one of those things that there is no moralizing it. You have a right to have a child. That doesn't mean that you should. I have seen too many situations with friends and family members, and in general in the world, with people that came out fucked up because their parents decided to have a child when they should not have. Thus leading to severe, whether it's, you know, mental disorders or depression or physical scars on their body. There are people that should not have kids, and there are people that I would say in situations in which it is immoral to have a child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, to counterposition this, in the opinion that I am now going to hold for this conversation, what I have previously stated of the idea that it is morally always correct to have a child, I will hold true to that statement as of this conversation, where no matter the circumstances, for the benefit of humankind, it is always at the benefit of humankind to have more individual members of humankind. This includes any and all situations of which a child is born. And I can see your point, right? Where if an individual is completely incapable of raising and or fostering any love or emotion for this child that will prosper their growth, that it is morally wrong. That being unable to take care of a child, that being unable to love a child, and being unable to nurture and grow this human into a healthy, reasonable, and adjusted individual is do you ever hate it when you lose the words you were trying to fucking say? I hate that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
So-
I do that often.
To boil the words I want to say down, to fucking quick cook this, I guess. The idea that having the child itself is morally wrong is not something I can agree with. The idea of the individual being incapable of raising the child, I can find very well agreed with. And maybe this goes back to a different idea of the idea of selective breeding and in eugenics, where only those who are capable should be allowed. If you are an individual who is completely incapable of raising a child proper, and under the idea set that it is morally wrong to do so if you are incapable, should you even be allowed the right to have children?
So yeah, I mean that goes back to eugenics, but you can't take that right away from someone
Why not?
Yeah.
because it's their right as a human.
But it's morally wrong.
Yeah, so is stealing, but
That's not a basic right.
we're able to do that.
Stealing is not a basic right.
No, it's not. But I mean, like there are things that you can do. Every action that you take, someone will say that it is morally reprehensible in some way.
Yep, there is definitely the idea of a party that exists in pure nihilism of the human race in every action you take.
Yes. So here's the thing with like a counter argument again to the children thing. We live on a planet.
We live in a society.
We live on a planet, and we live in society on this planet.
No, dude, sorry, I'm just memeing. Keep going.
But
Don't actually incorporate that.
We survive at the expense of other things on the planet. We use its resources. We take its bounties. We kill the other animals on this planet to the point where we need to farm them to keep them like to keep it alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the more people there are, the more resources we need to use to the point where we are not able to keep up the intake with growth in mind. If you have enough resources to feed 10 people comfortably for their entire life, and you decide then to make that number 15, and then 20, and then 25, and then 30, you're growing it, and the resources get shorter and shorter with every time, thus ending that group faster and faster with every new mouth. Granted, that's not the case because we do have death, but we're multiplying faster than we're dying. First off.
Mm-hmm.
Second off, we're not
It's only going to get even more the more we progress.
Yep, we're not renewing the resources that we are using at the rate that we are creating, thus needing a greater need of resource. If we stopped entirely right now creating new humans on the planet, we still wouldn't be able to recoup our losses from the resources used. We're only using more and more and not being able to keep up. It's like for every 5 of an item used, we're getting a half back.
So what you're saying is we should fundamentally restrict the basic human right of being able to give birth.
No, that's not a stance that I've made at all.
Yeah, I know.
But you know, it's one of those things that it's not for the greater good of humanity, because in the same way that we're creating more of us, we're also dooming the rest of us with each mouth by the same metric. Resources are finite. That's why Thanos snaps half of the universe out of existence. Sorry, Infinity War spoilers.
Ooh, yeah, because Endgame just came the fuck out.
Yep.
Good job spoiling Infinity War, right? Like a fucking year or two after.
I know, right? But yeah, no, it's one of those things that by any metric of it, there's no moral choice to be made with humanity. It's not about moralizing. It's about the continuation of what we have. So even if we go as far as to say that Earth as a planet is ours, that we are the creatures that own it, and that we are the ones that are allowed to determine its fate, using up the resources and creating more of us still destroys that ability. We never counted on having this many people, and that number is growing more and more.
Mm-hmm.
So either newer generations need to realize this and not have as many kids, or there, a restriction would be put on it or something. That's the only way that we recoup the losses, unless we find more territory and more space to occupy with more resources. But the fact that's why Elon Musk wants Mars so bad, because we can terraform Mars. We can do that. We can make that another resource point. There are other places in the universe for us to do this. We can't get to them. We can't access them, and we cannot what's the word that I'm looking for? Populate? No.
Cultivate,
yes,
harvest.
Populate.
Okay.
We can't make the pilgrimage to it to settle there.
Colonize?
Yeah, to colonize. So if we had that infinite space, if we had the resources to maintain, and we weren't burning them out at a faster and faster rate consistently, then I would say, yeah, you can choose morality on it. But the fact remains is that math, basic math, does not lead to the continuation of society or the human race as it is now. If we don't fix the issue of resources and space.
I see that.
Or the ability to grow more. If we were closer to it, right? So let's say we had Earth and we had Mars, and we know that we've already cultivated colonized one planet, terraformed. We know how to make more resources. Now it's about spreading throughout the galaxy. We could do that. Then the spread of humanity isn't as bad because we're not potentially dooming ourselves. But the fact that we only have this planet and the resources on this planet now, and the negligence that we have on this. I'm sorry, I was looking at chat, and Brenna popped in and said, "Why is this conversation happening with Sky High Academia in the background?"
Yeah.
What did I walk into? Oh, okay. Right, getting back to my point. So the fact that we only have what we have right now, we don't have the theoretical things. Factoring only what we have now and what we've seen for growth isn't one of those things where we can't morally say that it's correct to have more children, because that means more resource loss when we don't have an answer to losing the resource.
Okay.
Because that just dooms us quicker.
So, I'm gonna
a countermeasure to what you said.
Yeah, I know, but I'm going to go into that and say that feels like moral cowardism. That's cowardice in morality, where it's you are afraid to put down the stance and say that you would limit people's ability to give birth, even though it is a quote defined human right. Even though you can quote mathematically see that it is a penalty on society or Earth. It is draining our resources ever faster in an ever-present problem of overpopulation. But despite that, even though if it were real, like let's say for a moment that we could propose a plan to limit the production of humans and then actually colonize Mars and then continue from there. In that circumstance, would that be morally adequate to limit the basic human rights of there's a word for that. You know what I mean. It's just, is it morally justifiable if there is a plan in set and for a temporary amount of time to limit that human right to fucking breed?
So if it's to the point where it's endangering society as a whole,
right now,
right?
Like, let's say
right
fucking
now, yeah.
tomorrow, everyone in the UN and for some reason China and Indonesia, because I don't think they're in the UN, are like, yep, we got the plan. We can set it in tomorrow. And it limits people's ability to give birth, and it's us traveling to the stars, but it's only for like maybe 200 years tops or something.
Yeah, so let's say for 200 years, no, like you can have, every family can have one child.
If even, or if you have to be certified or something. Any made-up plan of that regard. Is it justifiable to limit that basic human right to have children?
I would say that through a certain, if it's a question of whether or not we will be extinct as a species, once again, I see no morality in it. It's not a morally good or like right or wrong thing. It's the right, like it is the answer. If we needed 200 years, and you needed certifications to do it based on whatever you needed, right? Yeah, sure, because we have, so here's the thing, right? Let's say you want to adopt a child, right? You need to pass so many certifications and so many different checks and balances to say, yes, you are ready to adopt this child. Doesn't matter if it's a baby. Inversely, if you wanted to, like, have a baby, let's say you wanted to adopt a newborn, like, straight up was born like yesterday, right? You want to adopt this, you want to take care of it. You have to still go through those checks and balances. But if you want to just have a kid, you can just do it for Nothing. No one will check you.
You can do it in your play pool in the south. Just like have some warm water, bam, you got a kid.
Yep, exactly. So if it was one of those situations that, yeah, there are people that if you want to have a kid, maybe you should have a check, like something to keep that in check. Realistically, that would prevent a lot of things that we see as a problem with parenting. It would prevent a lot of negligence. It would prevent a lot of people leaving. If you had to really think about it and say, do I want a kid, yes or no? There's the answer.
So,
You have to want it enough to go past these checks and balances. You have to be prepared enough for it, and then you can do it. So that would be the way to yes, I see nothing wrong with that. In theory.
So, you are completely okay with the justifying of the limitations of human rights of breeding. The basic, just innate right as a human being to copulate with another human being and have your child under the guise of intense restrictions and checks and balances and or proposed plans for the salvation of humanity.
I mean, so that also leads to a whole lot of other problems. That would
I'm
lead
aware
to a
it
lot
does,
more.
but we can talk through
So-
them. But I just kind of am curious. Do you in the shortest answer you can give? We can go deeper into the moral complexities that go down this rabbit hole, but just kind of yes or no. How do you feel about that? Is that acceptable in any scenario? Any scenario
So I
that you can think of is the limitation of a human right that is that basic is acceptable.
To an extent, yeah. I mean, there would be reasons for or against that idea.
But
no
you
matter what,
specifically,
there are always more
You
against.
think
So if
it is acceptable under certain restrictions?
under certain, I could see why it would be acceptable under certain.
But do you
certain
feel
situations.
it's acceptable?
I mean, as we are right now. Sorry. God damn it. As we are right now, there is not. I don't have enough straight up hard evidence or fact or knowledge on the subject to be able to give you a flat out answer. What I can tell you is that I can see situations in which it would be the correct course of action to take and that I would agree with.
All right. I mean, that was just I very much feel you on where this is all at, because in all honesty, this is an incredibly morally gray area. But what I really wanted to try to boil down to was that kind of singular question that I was beating you over the head with, because it's an important topic of the idea of basic human rights. When we were talking a little bit earlier, and the idea that breeding is a completely basic human right came up, that kind of sparked an idea in my head that I don't actually see breeding as a human right. I've never really seen it as a right. In fact, I've seen it kind of as an abused thing. But
So allow me to make a quick amendment. It's not a human right, it's a biological right. You own the function to be able to do it naturally. So by biology, it is something that we have the right to do biologically. It's the same thing as shitting and eating, although this is an optional thing.
But you wouldn't say it's a
that we
human
choose
right.
to. I wouldn't say it's a human. No, it's a biological right. It's something that all creatures do. With the exception of not all creatures have sex, but all creatures create anew.
I mean, that's the basic goal of all creatures.
The basic
is
goal
to
of all life
birth and continue
is
their
to-
lines.
the basic biological function of all life is to survive, and by extension, that comes with just passing on your genetics. That is the basic function of anything that is alive in any like sense of the word.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
yeah.
do you believe that this is a right bestowed upon to humans? Like, does every human have this right? Once again, human rights. And it's kind of sounded like you want to say no.
I mean, not so much. I mean that gets into more of a question. Once again, I think that finding a way to not even necessarily limit, but check first to say, is this person suitable for raising a child? Yes, no. Wouldn't hurt. It would lead to a lot more back alley dumpster babies, or the killing of infants.
I mean, in my
Child
opinion,
abandonment would go up way high. The question then would be, what happens to someone? So let's say you had a certification or registration, right? And you needed to get registered to be able to have a child, right? What happens to someone that has a child that isn't, certified?
My imagination of this was always spoiler alert. My topic goading was to bring this back to eugenics, because my imagination of this idea is an Orwellian horror, where breeding is completely fundamentally controlled by those invisible in the shadows, to the point where it's like, at birth, check the gene pool of this child. Do they already fail the criteria of genetic makeup necessary to pass on children? If yes, just complete castration. Like,
well, the thing is that it's not about genetics. It's about
But it could be.
mental stability.
it could
No.
be about genetics.
No, it's not about genetics though.
Okay,
Because
so
the
like,
conversation that we're having now is not about genetics.
but I was so like, to bring it back to that, like the idea of a human right like that being in any way, shape, or form restricted, it may not always be ideal or idealistic. It could once again become Orwellian, where those in power get to make those decisions. And if it's suddenly the idea of, well, there are certain genetic makeups that inherently add a great danger or risk to the gene pool or humanity. Like, let's say we find out what genetic makeup can, quote, propose a psychopath. Like, that is just, I know it's completely fucking out there, but what if a lie or a similar methodology was used to create the circumstances necessary to foster this system into one of selective choosing for eugenics?
Mhm.
And
Right.
that's kind of where I wanted to get really hard with this conversation, because the restricting of a very, very basic human right and the control of it via any sort of government, it could happen with technically the U.S. or China. When it comes to the idea of leaving this to a government or even a company, it could become that taken away right to the point of you never had it, or it was never your choice to make. And that, once again, could lead to that end game of castration eugenics, where it's like, even if you failed the basic makeup, then you wouldn't even be allowed, you wouldn't even be given the shot, only those who yada yada yada, you know what I mean.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Human rights are very important, and your rights as an individual are very important. And they're constantly debated in weird ways, usually not ones this basic, usually more like consumer rights. But it's very important to fight for your rights and to say that, yes, these are mine. And when it comes to a level of, if it ever did actually come to a level of the idea of your right to breed is now in question, that is the stage of which humanity may continue to exist, and hell, it could even fucking prosper under that. But freedom is fucking dead. And the possibility of choice is gone. if you are an individual who wanted to craft your own life or live your own life in the ways you pleased that was not necessarily conform with the ideals of society, you're now at odds with society. And that begins the Orwellian horror. That begins the death of freedom, and that begins the cultivation of humanity as an almost sheep-like flock to those who are lucky enough to be born in the higher, like, I guess, echelon. Hey, have you ever read 1982? Okay,
No.
so when I say Orwellian horror, I believe it's 1982. I could be getting the title wrong, but
Hold on. Can I just jump in real quick? What
Sure.
do you mean by upper echelon?
we're kind of getting to that.
Okay.
So in the book, 1982, I think the author's name was James Orwell. That's where the term Orwellian comes from.
Mm-hmm.
In the book, they live. I think it's under a reformed USSR. That won the Cold War, I think. So, in the book, the main character is a part of the foundation of truth for this society. So first off, I guess I should explain the society a little bit. The society is completely controlled and monitored, essentially by Big Brother. There is no in media or out media that is not controlled by the Ministry of Truth and or those in power. If there is ever there's a lot to explain. So like every day there is a mandated protest against those who share fundamentally wrong thoughts, like political parties that have no longer existed and are not present in the society whatsoever. But every citizen is mandated to show up every morning and boo, jeer, and mock recordings of these individuals proclaiming their political ideals. And the main character, once again, works for the Ministry of Truth. If there is ever an event of which contradicts... I can't remember the actual name of the upper echelon in that book, so I guess we'll just call them fucking Big Brother. If there is ever an actual scenario of which Big Brother is contradicted, the Ministry of Truth retroactively fixes and corrects every article and every book and every piece of media that is possible to be consumed by the populace in order to be retroactively correct with Big Brother. And the point of the book is that the main character tries to escape from all this. He starts having illicit sex in a bookshop with this woman that he met, and they want to escape from the society and live their own life. And it ends terribly for both of them, where they're both found out to be rebels, and that the rebel party that they were going to be joining was completely made up by Big Brother to weed out wrongthink. And in a torturing session, they both sell each other out, and then they are electrically remodeled to be perfect citizens for the state, like shock therapy hypnotism, kind of like Clockwork Orange in a way. And then at the end of the book, the main character describes his pure bliss at this matter, that he's happy that he no longer wants to escape. He's happy that he is a perfect citizen, and it ends on kind of that grim note. When it comes to the idea of restrictions of human rights and the battle for your rights, this is the ultimate fail state and fear, this kind of society. And when I say that humanity would eventually be cultivated into a race of sheep for the upper echelon and those who were lucky enough to be born into it, those who are in government or monarchy would be those who control this form of media that control this state of being for all humanity. And that definitely scares the shit out of me, and that's definitely one of the things that I hate the most in Ideal, where it's like a society that completely a society that is both completely against you as the individual and what you truly desire versus what you have on offer for the society. And it's the ultimate stripping of rights, and that does tie a little bit into the eugenics idea, because that could also be a complete class-based system. There's a lot of Orwellian futures we could hit, I think, but they all start with the stripping of human rights, and one of them could be eugenics-based. I don't really know where I'm going with this any further, but I don't think we should ever limit the basic function to have children, because that is a right that must be defended at all costs, lest this scenario ever come to terms.
Yeah, I
agree.
fundamentally disagree with that.
That's okay.
I agree with Matt. Because my thought is that once you start limiting people with their choices and that kind of stuff, because my idea is that what makes humans human is the freedom of choice, and without it, we're just nothing. We just are. We have no.
Okay, so let me just get this straight though. Based on
Personal-
all right, so let me just then let me flip this for a second. We know that based on what we have right now, it is unsustainable and will kill every single one of us. It will leave this planet a barren wasteland with no life left on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that even if the right way to prevent that from happening is us stopping, like, creating a registration system and finding a way to make it so that we slow the production of humans and make sure that we're not just going willy-nilly until we find a bigger solution to this, that it's better to just leave it run rampant and destroy the planet and civilization than find a way that we continue civilization for those that exist.
I think that you can talk about it and be like, and heavily advise, be like, hey, we are in like deep shit if we continue the path we're going down, and try to make and advise and bring more people aware of the fact. But I think once you start making it mandatory and forcing people and taking away their choice is when it becomes not human
At the
anymore.
end of the book,
So-
A Clockwork
so-
Orange, or one of the primary messages of the book, A
Hold on.
Clockwork Orange.
I just want to throw this out there real quick though. But we are advising. We've been advising for 30 years. This is a
Yeah.
thing that we've been doing.
And
It's not working. Nothing's changing. So there's a million reasons why that goes into this, but we already are doing that, and it's confirmed not to be working. I just want to say that. Factually, it is confirmed that it does not work to advise. Regulations
yeah, and
need
humans are
to
flawed creatures that are bound to just die off eventually, and we shall sleep in the grave that we created for
in the
ourselves.
book,
I didn't create that grave.
In the book, A Clockwork Orange, one of the primary themes is that it is better to die a sinner than it is to live on as an unwilling righteous man. And that is one of the things I fundamentally agree with in the idea of humanity. Freedom is number one. And I can understand there's a huge amount of... I'll leave that because I think my stance on it is pretty clear. I can understand there's a huge amount of frustration on the idea of you are now sharing the idea of this, quote, grave with everyone, and it wasn't your choice. But there's two possibilities there, right? It's you restrict and take away from others for their betterment by your choice, or you try to encumber it, or you try to work with that and their choice and continue on. Like, if you see this problem, those are your two options. You either restrict it and try to solve the problem, or you accept this part and facet of the problem as unchangeable and try to fix it regardless. Those are your two options. And the option that is restriction, I see I see the death of freedom and the death of choice in society, and that is a future that no matter what I cannot accept.
Right, but there already are places in the world that restrict your rights to have children.
And I do not agree
That's-
with them in the slightest.
it's-
Jason, you know I hate China.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that you do, but I'm just saying that's a reality that we live in right now, though.
And it's a horrible
it's
one that
not-
I cannot accept.
It's not an Orwellian like
China is a Orwellian.
nightmare escape.
Fuck you.
It's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not like some fictional like dystopia that's a potential outcome. It's already a thing that exists.
And that's
This
why I really
already
like
exists
America.
in our world
Ooh.
right now.
It's like I'm a patriot or something. I really like America. I will not accept. So I'm really against fucking communism. Like I am legitimately, really, really against communism for these reasons. And while I say democracy is a completely flawed system, it is the only system that, in my opinion, propagates freedom enough to an acceptable level and degree. I will not accept such a loss of freedom that cultivates humanity into sheep.
Yeah. Right. No, all that I'm saying is that it is a thing that exists already.
Yep.
That's an inherent problem. But even currently, right now, in the United States, we have the opposite issue where we can't choose to get rid of a pregnancy if we don't want it.
Oh yeah, that's another part of the United
So-
States is the constant fighting. That even goes back a little bit to the idea of you didn't want to share this grave, but we're constantly fighting it. That
Yeah, so, I mean, it was just, what state was it in? It was just made illegal in one of the states, for, to have an abortion, and it's punishable by death.
that's fucked.
That is a thing that we deal with
Jesus
in the United
Christ.
States, and we have two massive issues in the U.S., which is one, our corporations run everything above the government, and two, we are still a heavily Christian, Christian country, and despite the separation of church and state being a law, it's ignored 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So, separation of religious morality and the removal of corporate entities from our government is the only way to correct that. But that's not happening anytime soon either.
I don't know. 2020 elections.
That's not going to change anything.
That's a terrible mindset to actually have.
It's true. Our government is flawed and doesn't work.
Yeah, like I said, I agree with that, but there is always room for change. The second option that was a part of what I said earlier is to acknowledge this part of the problem and accept it, and then try to work through it or work around it. And the fact that there's even those options is a big part of it. It is pointless to be nihilistic on the matter, in my opinion, because just saying, yeah, it's fucked up, yeah, it won't work, and then pouting about it will never change it. Even if your change or your fight and your struggle is, at the end of the day, almost or is equivocal to pointlessness, it is a fight and a struggle. And that can send those ripples and that can make that change. It may not happen within your life, and it may not happen within your children's life. But so long as one person is fighting, it can change. If you are dissatisfied, you can fight, and that is a part of the American system that I am grateful for.
Right, but so you're able to change it within the confines of the law, but when the law is inherently built to prevent you from changing it, that's where there's a problem, and that's exactly how our current government structure is. You're not able to change it from the inside. And you're not able to change it from the outside. You can't really change it because the power that is currently in is the power that stays in, regardless of who's the president.
Well, no, that changes. That changes a lot, actually. The Supreme Court and the president will change over the years, and currently, yes, we do have a very red Supreme Court and a very red presidency, that could change down the line. No one knows what, like, I don't know, 2200 is going to fucking look like. That could look entirely different. The idea that these leaders and that these people in power will not change is also incorrect in the current American system. They will change, whether that be through actual name or through political party. They will change, and that opens up options. Humans are individuals. They will change things eventually, and if that struggle continues, I think things will change. The problem inherently with some societies is that it will never change. Like, hey, China just made it so that there's no... Oh, what did China do? There was something along the lines of political leaders do not have a term length at max anymore, so that I think it was the current president could extend his term indefinitely. But it's so long as there is the possibility of change, there is the possibility of fighting. And so long as there is the possibility of fighting, there is the possibility that you can get what you want. And that is what I think is fundamentally great about the American system. And I disagree with the idea that there is no change from the inside or out. If the laws disagree with you, and I know there's a huge conversation to go with the corporations on this, you can still fight to change them. If the laws do not work, they can be fought and they can be changed. That is the fundamental principle about the American system that I agree with and I see in this country. And yeah,
Well, I think the problem is that with our government right now is the fact that instead of it two parties trying to work for the betterment of everyone and working together on stuff, it's become so divisive and teams working against each other instead of together for the betterment. So it's just become this horrible just war between the two with such bad blood, and just they're
The
not
parties,
trying to work
if
together
you're
to succeed on stuff for the
Yeah.
betterment of people.
if you're in a party, you have to follow that party's rule set. It's it's a thing. The politicians have to go through their party. It's not as individualistic. There are a lot of candidates that go in and have to pander to their party more than they're allowed to individualize what they want because they're a member of a party. And that always leads to the two-party system fighting itself always. So there's infighting already, and then there's the additional fighting the quote-unquote enemy team, which is why it's a flawed system. You have to fight through your people to become the top, and then you have to fight an enemy team against it instead of everyone working together for the betterment, which is why it's a power struggle, and it's all about stacking the board in your favor and then doing what you want, what your party wants. It's not about what's best. It's about what your party wants and what your backers want. The price that you're paying isn't worth it. And most of the time, it's not for the betterment of our society that the things are run, but for the betterment of individuals that are there.
The rich get richer.
That happens. The more frequently, no matter what side it is, the board gets tilted in that direction. The people that are now in power use that power, but it's almost constantly misused. The only way that a two-party system works is when they use their differences and use their differing viewpoints to reach the middle ground. But that's not what happens. It's completely polarized now, which is the big issue. Is that if Democrats want it and the Republicans don't, there's no middle ground being met. It's a yes or a no. and vice versa. If there's something that the Republicans want and the Democrats want, the Democrats are like Democrats don't. The Democrats are going to try to stop it at all costs, regardless of them finding having the ability to find a middle ground that works for everybody. And that's just how the two-party system works now.
Or sometimes they're just blinded by the fact that it's something that
Opposition.
the quote-unquote
Yeah,
enemy
exactly.
team, that's something that they want, then they'll just go against it somewhat blindly and biased because they view them as enemies or opposition. And it's just a horrible way to
It only gets
go about
worse
it.
when it reaches the populace as well, which is like
Yeah.
like say what
Sure
you
has
want about
recently.
senators or Congress or whatnot. They know the laws that they're playing with. They know the rules. They know the effects that it's going to have. And if they don't, then they're not researching, and then that questions whether or not they have a right to be on Congress, a member of Congress at all. If you're just going to be going off of ill-informed evidence, why are you there? If you don't know what you want or know what the effects of everything are, you shouldn't be on Congress. But that does unfortunately happen. There are a lot of senators and congressmen that do not have that are unwilling to even learn the full effects of it. But the moment that it hits that there's a vote on something and it hits us, the society as a conglomerate, then it goes into that dogmatism more of I need to fight for my side, and if you if you're anything other than on my side, you're wrong. Which is the big problem with a two-party system that is made up by a majority of people that do not understand the things that they are voting on, which continues to make the problem even more volatile.
I
as we
admit,
go further.
Yeah.
democracy is not a perfect system, but it's still the system I'll prefer. It'll always be the system I side with for those fundamental values that I can still see being enacted or still being used. Even if on the grand levels and at the high levels, there are huge problems. I'm not going to deny them. There are big problems in democracy, especially with the party system and how it's currently developed. I will not say that there is a currently better system, for I fully believe in this system. At least at the level of which we have as an understanding of humanity, this is the system I believe in the most. That being said, going way back, I refuse any other system, and I refuse the slow stripping of human rights, which is why I think this system is important to that. It boils down to ultimately the idea of what you want in life and how you wish to live your life. That's kind of how everything in the world boils down to. I'm notorious to myself for answering every fucking question with the question of, well, what's life about? And if we come down to this and we bring it all the way back of, is eugenics in any way morally acceptable, or is there ever a moral, or was it just, is having children moral? I think that's where we began.
I mean, we began with Sky High.
We did begin with Sky High, and don't worry, it's not going anywhere. But yeah,
It's still on screen.
Yeah,
this
don't worry.
entire
I can
time.
make a slow zoom or fucking something. I don't know. Video version will have a slow zoom into the Sky High. I probably have to credit someone for using that. In that, going back way to that topic, what is important in life to myself personally will always be freedom at most. The freedom to decide and the freedom to live. Freedom to choose. And freedom being, once again, one of those concepts that can be shrunk down or expanded on your view, expanded no matter what. This actually goes back to the meat prison, but once again, freedom is the ultimate
Meat
thing
prison.
I can say in life. It is the one most important thing that I will hold above all. It is freedom. And without it, life inherently, to me, has no meaning. And that is why I think if that shit, the importance of human rights is a big deal, and that's why I think democracy is an important system, and that's why I think it's the apparently best system compared to communism, and that's why I don't like China. Hey, that's that conversation. I guess if we're really going to say, I want, here's a joke. I just want to mash All Might together with, like, I don't know, fucking, let's go down the list. Elastigirl? Yeah, let's make them fuck. That's my eugenics.
Interesting. All right.
I love how quickly the conversation turned from the super, just political, just very
Tense, deep conversation.
tense discussion, exactly, to
Yeah, I mean,
that.
we had to bring it back to eugenics and Sky High at some point.
Eventually, we needed to bring it back to that. Wow, that was a road very much less traveled on.
Yeah, I tend to avoid talking about politics, but we got there via
Jesus Christ.
eugenics. And Sky High. Thanks,
we
Disney.
Thanks, Disney. Oh my god. Good.
Stop controlling America from the shadows.
Thanks, Sky High Academia.
Honestly, I think things might be better if Disney just did run everything.
I don't think so, but hey, that's going back
Just
to the...
run everything.
Like I said, that's going back to the previous topic. Hey, here's a recommended reading, not a required reading. Clockwork Orange. It's a good-ass book.
Yes.
Hmm.
It is.
It's a bit of ultra-violence, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
They all got fucking
Yes, indeed.
big old
also a very
white
good movie.
big old white overalls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And some milk laced
Hat.
with drugs.
Yes.
Right out of a statue tit. Guy rapes
Good.
someone's wife. It's fucked.
Excellent.
He's the main character, everybody.
Jesus Christ.
All right. But here's the real question. Why don't we just have an anarchistic society?
Goddamn ANCAP! No one knows pole memes, alright. Pure Anarchy is just the Chaos faction from Shin Megami Tensei. I don't think it really works.
Absolute freedom, though.
It is absolute freedom.
And that's the basis for everything, right, Matt?
Yeah, that it is, but I still don't think it works.
Why? That's the purest form of freedom.
It doesn't work for me.
Why?
I'm weak.
So stop being weak.
I don't know if that's possible in an anarchistic society. There's less pathways to gain power in an anarchistic society.
Gun?
Yeah, but someone else has a gun too, and then I'm dead. I can't be free
get
if
a
I'm
bigger
dead.
gun.
How do I get a bigger gun? He has all the big guns.
So why didn't you get them first?
I wasn't
Why
born
don't
then.
you find... Why don't you find bigger guns, Matthew?
Because he
Why don't
has
you
all of
convince
them.
him? Then why don't you convince him to give you your bigger gun?
Because he wants me to suck his dick.
So suck his dick and get the bigger gun!
But then he just kills me anyway.
Well, there's freedom for you. He just wanted to get his dick sucked and then kill you.
Yeah.
And it worked for him.
Yeah, but it didn't work for me.
But it worked for him.
Yeah, and that's not the freedom I care about. I care about my freedom, motherfucker.
You didn't have to suck his dick.
Yeah, I
You
didn't,
chose
but you
to.
made me. In the conversation,
Wait.
anyway.
Am I the other guy?
Are you the other guy, you asshole?
Good.
No, I mean, like,
It was
Jesus
my dick.
Christ.
I mean, like, legitimately, I mean, an anarchistic society can lead to, quote, ultimate freedom, but once again, freedom is one of those concepts that you can shrink and expand no matter how much you like. You are not free from the cycle of death. Is that ultimate freedom? What about if you were free from the ultimate cycle of death? You're not still able to experience all timelines. You're still not able to experience all possible events or all viewpoints from the universe. Is that not ultimate freedom? Or is that limited freedom still? It's one of those scopes you can expand and shrink all the time. You can fucking make it however you like.
No, I know. I was just busting your balls there.
No, I know it. It's a fun meme. A fun May.
But yeah, May.
My friend Darius used to say that shit legitimately.
It's a
Jesus.
real good clown pep.
Although this has been a really good insider look, because now I know if the world ever goes to shit and we are in an anarchistic society, I can't trust Jason.
Yeah, he's gonna
I
make
just
you
have to
suck
kill
your
him
dick. His
immediately.
dick.
And take your big
listen.
guns.
I won't make you suck my dick. I'll make someone else suck my dick. You get the gun for free.
Nah, I'm still-
as long as you shoot the people that I want you to shoot.
Nah. Don't work. It's not gonna work like that. Nah, you've already.
It might be
you've
me.
already
I
put.
might
you've
want you to shoot
already put this plan on the table. You've already laid your cards down. I can't unhear this.
Get all the guns first.
I gotta get all the guns first and make you suck my dick. It's how
And then you
anarchy
kill me?
works.
All right, I'll just kill you and take you for my meat.
Ooh, you see? This is what anarchy does. We used to be friends 5 minutes ago. Now we're debating who sucks each other's dicks.
Wait.
I'm just
Wait,
watching.
Hold on. What if you have a big gun and I have a big gun, and then we choose to put the guns down and suck each other's dicks?
This is one of those fucking prisoners' dilemmas. Who had the secret gun hidden in their dick?
Who betrayed each other during the dick sucking first? Who betrayed each other first after the dick sucking? We don't know, but that's how anarchy
Who gets
works.
shot? Who gets their dick sucked and who dies?
Anarchy.
These are the three episodes. Oh my god. Oh fuck. Oh Jesus Christ.
And that's why only idiots play Order or fucking Law and Shin Megami Tensei. I don't know.
Oh my god. Because you don't get your dick sucked.
Gotta suck someone else's dick. Can't have that. Or shoot you after they suck your
my
dick.
God. Oh my god. That's so good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty strong. I don't think anyone brought a topic this week.
I don't think so. Absolutely
No.
not.
Yep.
I was playing Destiny, then Matt messaged me in Discord, and it's like, so it's almost 3, and it's like, oh yes, I totally remembered that this is a
And
thing
Jason
that
totally
we're
remembered
doing
this was
today.
a thing as well.
I did actually remember that it was a thing.
Yes.
I'm just late.
I really need
God.
I need to set up my soundboard
Just Jason.
like more effectively so I can just have the fucking LA Noir doubt sound.
True. I did know that it was a thing. I just needed to go get a new blanket, and then my mom was like, "Hey, you want ice cream?" And I was like, "I guess we're getting ice cream now."
Ah, man, now I'm hungry.
What a
I don't wanna. Not
Go
yet.
eat.
There's like nothing to eat in my house. I have to make food if I want it.
That's a
I'd
shame.
rather
makes
just
sense.
have food, but that's a terrible eating habit. Hey, you want to know what's a cool series? Promised Neverlands. You should probably watch that shit.
should probably watch that shit.
You should probably watch that shit. It's about not the meat industry, but it might as well be about the meat industry.
I would just like to point out that from over in chat, Emily screams, "Matt, eat or time out!"
I'm not that hungry, Mom! Besides, we only got like, what, 20 minutes left?
Approximately.
Yeah.
We got about 20 minutes.
I mean, in other news,
Some time.
Kingdom Hearts 3 is getting DLC.
Yes, it is. That's pretty cool.
In other news... Okay, but we gotta get something in here. In other news...
Monster Prom is getting a creation editor,
Neat.
so you're able to like add characters and sprites and write in new scenarios.
You can go ahead and add yourself, Jason. It's going to take a bunch of work, but
Yeah,
you can now go to prom.
Add new playable characters. Yeah,
Really
it's
cool. Like myself, you
it's
can
actually
continue
really
not
sick.
getting dates.
Yeah, and you can
be
like
accurate.
add characters like Damien's parents and stuff, and you can write in your own scenarios and endings. Yeah,
Good
I
shit.
think it's really neat.
I love it when that kind of
you can't
content
add-
comes out.
Yeah.
I don't think you can add any new major, like new major characters, but you can add a whole bunch of minor characters, and you can change the playable character sprites. Yeah, I think it's really
That's
neat.
cool.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you can also add custom music as well.
I really want to date
Oh shit.
7 chainsaws put together.
Just taped together.
Yeah. Whenever you try to talk to them, they just rev up. Bring your
Oh
chainsaw
my
to
god,
prom.
Jesus Christ.
Your
That'd be
7
so good.
chainsaws. Well, what would be the name of that? Chandler?
Slow dancing. You guys get real close and just start
Chandler
fucking
the
just cutting you apart.
I like Chandler
Got
the
too
7
close.
chainsaws.
Chandler the 7 Chainsaws.
That actually sounds like an action movie.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Chandler this, but like a middle school
Yeah.
one because it's his actual name.
Yeah. Yep.
Chandler the 7.
Wonderful.
That's an animation on Newgrounds. That's it. I've cracked the code.
That's good. Excellent. Wonderful. Holy shit.
Yo, that actually brings me to the idea I had the other day in fucking chat. I posted, man, I miss the days where where the most exciting thing was going to Newgrounds secretly without anyone knowing and then going into the adult section and playing like Meat and Fuck.
Yes.
I miss that time. That
Yeah,
time of
when you're just
innocence.
Oh
like-
yeah.
When you're just like, ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, and now you're just expected to be looking at porn.
Oh no, it's just like I have everything on lockdown. I know
Yeah.
exactly what's being developed and when. I know what money's been thrown where. I'm the master of this industry. Just not a part of it.
I want you to know that I just searched meat and fuck, and the first thing that I got, actually everything that I got, is just ads for hookup sites.
Nice.
Oh man, I remember a time when it wouldn't just send me to an app. I could play a game on Newgrounds.
Yeah, those were the days. I remember I used to play on Armor games a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There was a couple
Man.
of fun ones like Funny Pants Adventures. Funky Pants?
I vaguely remember that.
Stick figure, but he always had like big pants. He had like a mohawk.
Yes.
You could change the color of the
yes,
pants.
I remember that.
It's like a platform. Yeah, Funky Pants
Oh
Adventures.
yeah.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
That shit was
That's
fucking
really good.
great.
Yeah, I know,
I spent
right?
so much time playing that game.
There was a lot of things
Holy
like that
shit.
over at
I forgot that was a
SBS,
thing.
and leave those initials
Mm.
unfucking translated, I guess, for the sake of our own existence. In case that one person who actually goes back through all of the fucking podcasts when we actually get famous finds that.
What, SBS?
Yeah.
I think we've already said.
I'm going to err on the side of caution. Just don't say the full name.
I don't think so.
No
I'm
full
like
names for nothing.
You mean
Like 98% sure that Kai and I have dropped like everything on on the stream at multiple points.
Oh,
but
baby.
Fair enough. Yeah.
have we?
Yeah, we have.
Well, if people
I don't think so.
find me because of you two, I'll know who to blame.
Donald Trump?
No.
Blame Jason.
no.
And then make him suck your dick.
True.
It all comes back to this. I break out of fucking, like, I don't know, prison and or my shelter where I'm being kept, and I'm just like, it all comes back down to this, Jay. We're right back to the anarchy decision. Who's got the bigger gun and who's more willing to drop to their knees?
Who's got the bigger dick?
I don't even know how I came to this. I just escaped prison, that's it. I like it.
Slowly, we both drop down to our knees.
I like it how the idea of my immediate idea was that escaping prison just brings us to this scenario. There's no change in our relationship dynamic, just me leaving prison brings us to this scenario.
Oh my god, that's so good. Holy shit.
I really want, like, there are not enough video games that let me play as a ghost and or a skeleton and or a skeleton and a ghost. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with ghosts.
Huh. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with ghosts.
And I want to do more stuff with ghosts, but not enough games let me play as a ghost. I mean, that was that, what was it? Spiritual Detective? Undead Detective? Ghost Detective? Ghost Cop?
Ghost Trick?
No, but similar. No, it was an LA Noire-esque game. Not actually as good as LA Noire, where you played as an undead cop, or a ghost cop, literally a ghost cop, trying to solve his own murder.
Oh, right. Right. It was,
I have a knack for remembering one-off games that nobody remembers.
No, it was, Murdered.
Yeah, Murdered, Sole Suspect. That was it.
Yeah. Yes.
Ghost
Yeah, that was
Cop.
it. That game wasn't very good.
No, it wasn't. It was about the Salem witch trials. Spoilers.
Yeah, it was a rough game.
So it was Fallout 4, and I always associate those two games together. They came out roughly at the same time.
Big difference in why, but yeah, one of those games is significantly not as good as the other.
Yep, I do hate Fallout 4 too, buddy. I'm glad we're on the same
God
page.
damn it. Fuck. Shit. Yep.
Get
That's
fucked.
what I get for that.
Sean! Actually,
Fuck you, Fallout 76 more.
you both have tricked me
Remember
into
that
buying
waste of money,
things.
guys?
We
Okay, well,
actually
the one that
played.
Jason tricked you into cost much more.
Yeah, we did actually play it together.
True.
We didn't even get past
And we
character
can always-
fucking creation in the fucking
Once.
SAO game.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
That's not your fault. The SAO game is totally on Kai.
That one is totally on Kai.
You
we
escaped
did play
that.
Fallout 76 together for a while, though.
Like
I
a
regret
day
nothing.
or two?
No, it was
There
3
was
sessions.
once, wasn't it?
Hey,
Yeah.
it was the same length as
Was
most
it?
of our campaigns.
We had 3
Huh.
full, like, 6-hour sessions in that game.
God, that game blows.
Tried to block out that memory, I guess.
I think
'cause
my
do not
favorite
remember
memory from that
much.
was how I just got 10 strength miraculously, and we hunted that one guy down, and I hit him with a sledgehammer once, and he died.
My favorite part about that game was when it would fuck up and it would just kick me out, and
Yep.
my body would just be there.
That happened a
naked,
couple of times.
and I wouldn't have
4
to play.
times? 5?
That was my favorite part.
4 times where Kai would just be a naked T-posing man somewhere in the distance.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'd just be gone.
Which is almost as good as...
I was like, oh,
almost
I
as
don't have
good
to
as
play.
you dabbing in the distance somewhere in Destiny.
It really bothers me that Bethesda is still
Oh,
trying to use
my favorite.
the modified fucking Gamebryo engine that they have. Because, like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like a big part
Yeah.
of the problems that fucking Fallout fucking 76 has is because of their dedication to this engine. The engine is old and outdated, and they have to keep modifying it to try to make shit work instead of putting real ass dev time into a new fucking engine. I hope that fucking Skyrim 2 Electric Boogaloo isn't bad. They're using mocap
Here's the hoping.
similar to an LA Noire, so I've already got rock bottom expectations.
Wait, hold on. What did you say?
They're using facial mocap recognition software similar to LA Noire.
Nice.
So I've already got 0 expectations.
I mean, I don't know. It might be better than keyframing everything.
Well, that's not the problem, right? The problem is that immediately tells me that there's going to be more of a focus on spoken dialogue between characters, and that's not inherently a bad thing, not at all. What's a bad thing is, in my opinion, the dialogue system change from Skyrim to Fallout 4. I think that was the big thing that prevented me from enjoying Fallout 4 was how character dialogue was handled. 4 options and your character speaking. This immediate focus on something that I consider very I guess not minor. I wouldn't call it minor. What's like this immediate focus on, I guess, things that I don't think matter, but not in the terms of the game. Like mocapping an actor and spending budget on trying to make that face appear in game, on trying to make that work and look in game like that, tells me that immediately that they want to have a focus on that face, and having a focus on that face, trying to bring it in close, trying to make it seem like you're seeing that face and you're talking to it, immediately makes me worry that the conversation system will be very similar to Fallout 4, and I just can't. Because, like, hey, remember how Skyrim did it? You talk to an NPC, they would talk to you. You'd be kind of in a little lock, like a very, very small like lock and/or placement to be close to them and talk to them. And whether you're in first person or third person, the dialogue wheel just kind of shows up on the side. You're allowed to talk from there, and then you say your lines invisibly, and then they talk back. In Fallout 4, you go up to them. You're put into the mini cutscene state, but that's also a little soft lock. You can just walk away from it. And then there's that real emphasis on switching back and forth between the player on each line and seeing where each one talks. And there's that viewpoint that really goes into it. I feel like that's very frivolous and against what I wanted in the conversation system. But yeah, that's my rant. There you go.
Well, I think the biggest issue was the lack of individualism in the character in Fallout 4.
You cut out a little bit there for me. What?
I think the bigger issue with Fallout 4 is, like, the way that they did it was the dialogue. You didn't know what you were going to say beforehand.
That is also a part of it.
And you were playing a preset character. You weren't playing a blank slate.
That is also a part of it, and that focus on that part of that technology is it makes me fear that it's going to be the same way. But yeah, I get you. Keep going.
Well, a better example of something that's very similar is Dragon Age Inquisition, which handled its spoken character very well. And they, if it's anything, if Bethesda is smart, then they'll take a book out of BioWare's chip from that game.
A book out of their chip?
A chip out of their book.
A page out of their book.
Yeah, a chip off their block. Wow! Holy shit!
I like how you reversed
We'll get there
it and then
eventually.
mixed it.
Reverse
You're,
it, yeah.
you're a straight up SoundCloud
Christ.
rap artist now.
Holy fuck. But yeah, no, how if they're smart, they will take that, the page out of their book and use it that way. It's fine if you have a character that speaks, as long as they're if so in a game like Fallout, you need to be a blank slate. Actually, no, that's not even true, because every character in Fallout has always, like, all of the players have always had a deep connection to something.
Yeah, but like they've definitely had a quote deep connection. But your stance on that matter can shift around very easily, I think, in every game except Fallout 4.
Yeah, I agree with that. You're always looking for your son, and you always care.
Yep, you always care.
No matter what. Yeah, it's silly. Elder Scrolls has never really had that, though. You've always had a all right, you're a prisoner in this thing because of this obscure reason.
Well, I mean, there's always the main quest, and in Morrowind you do have a defined backstory. I don't think you do in Daggerfall, but I think Morrowind might be the only exception there where you have a truly defined backstory.
I thought that you were just on a prisoner ship. Silence. Yeah,
Shit,
I'm pretty
no.
sure that you
Okay.
just started on a prisoner ship.
No,
and
okay,
that-
so
that
sorry,
you were taken
I
from
got
one place to
interrupted.
another.
I got interrupted and I had to mute myself. No, what in Morrowind, you're part of the you're either you're a reincarnated god. That's a part of the plot.
No.
I don't really know if that really defines your character. Probably really doesn't. In fact, no, that doesn't really define your character, but that is a positional thing. It's irrelevant to what I was talking about. I'd said things in the frozen time where nobody could hear me. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's closer to like being the chosen one, though. You know?
Yeah.
Like being the Dragonborn, it's the same idea as being a reincarnated god.
Yeah.
It doesn't change. Like your character is still a blank slate and can act however they want throughout the Elder Scrolls. It's always been less about what you say and more about the actions that you take in the Elder Scrolls universe. To that end, once again, have either of you guys played Dragon Age Inquisition?
Nope.
All right, so
Nope.
That's a game that has your character is a blank slate. The story plays out relatively similar, in that they're always in the same place at the same time for whatever reason that they claim, and you always become the Inquisitor. But whatever race you are, whatever sexuality or where you're from or all that is all decided by actions that you take in game and things that you choose to say in game. But it's all voiced. So, for example, one of those moments that it really hit me is during my first playthrough. There's a character that asks you, she expositions about her family and is like, "Where's your family from?" And then you have a total of like 12 different dialogue options on the wheel to pick from, and all of them are very different. From, I was an orphan on the streets to, I came from this place, I came from this place, I came from here, I did this, like, a whole bunch of options that you had, and then each of those then had a subsequent thing, and later on, another character mentioned to me something about what I had claimed in that moment. So, I don't think that having a character that has voice acting is inherently bad. I think it's bad if they lock you into it, and aren't aware of the fact that your character, well, yes, is a, character also needs to be a blank slate for the character to project themselves upon. Which is where Fallout 4 went wrong, but Inquisition did amazing.
Well,
at no point did I ever feel that the character was anything other than my character.
There's another thing, and I'm not certain, on the realistic logistics of it, but there's a sharp increase on production cost for voice lines that when it comes to the player. And because Fallout and Bethesda games are usually supposed to be incredibly open, that can be, I think, detrimental to probably the choices allowed for every conversation.
Yeah.
If there are, let's throw up a random number of 172 quests, and if you have them all voiced with every dialogue encounter, it's going to be a lot better and easier management, production, and cost-wise to limit that to a set number rather than let that play out for however many viewpoints the writer can think up.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that saying that they're doing that type of mocapping is making me worry about. Where they're that they're going to go in a similar direction to Fallout 4 and that they're going to put these, efforts in this direction when I think it's the wrong direction to go.
Yeah, I can understand that.
That's just my fear.
Yeah. I think it's better to either go all out on the voice acting and be able to pay to voice act a fuck ton of different dialogue choices, or have no voice and just have those unspoken.
I always like the middle
lot
ground
of stuff to choose from
I
instead of
think
constricting.
I misread you. Actually, no, the latter is my preferred. There was good. I'm always remiss by Bethesda's unfortunate lack of awareness. Maybe this is more of a ZeniMax thing, but I always felt like Bethesda games could have always been really community oriented with how their games work. Like, there was nothing to stop them from going into their next game saying, instead of hiring X amount of voice actors or working with the voice actors union, what if we take aspirants, or we try to take a lot of different individuals to try to realize a more fleshed out world? Like, what if we go to like a small community, like of a drama school in, like, I don't know, some school that we visited during our time, and say, hey, we all need you to work on X. Would you work with us on that? It's easier to let things cats out of the bag, and I understand there's problems with that. But I feel like Bethesda needs more voice actors. And if, I would really appreciate it if they had a lot more voice actors and I didn't hear the same guy for like 20 quests. Just saying. Minor complaint.
Yep.
Just thought, throw
Yeah.
it in there.
That's also fair.
It's been there since Oblivion. Oblivion's a bad game, but I love it anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
I can see where it could go wrong. I also like you look at Fallout like 76. And
One
that's
NPC.
Sorry.
I'd
Fuck.
rather not look
Fallout,
at it.
Fallout 4, and you see
A lot more NPCs.
you see a really bad example of like how to do that. And then you look at Dragon Age Inquisition, and if they did the same thing, if Bethesda was able to recreate what BioWare did with the player character and voice acting in that game, I would be over the moon.
Hey, no, I to be honest, I really don't care that
Yeah.
much about him having a voice. I care about the limitation on dialogue. That's it. Like,
Well, yeah, the thing is that Inquisition doesn't limit your
Yeah.
dialogue.
well, no, yeah, I'm not saying it
and
does.
all
I'm
of it's
just,
voice acting.
I'm just saying that Fallout 4 does, and I feel like a part
Yeah,
of that is
yeah,
because of the
super hard.
production. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely,
I ain't-
100%.
I just want to clear up. I'm not disagreeing with you.
No, I know. No. Absolutely. Like I said, Inquisition is probably the best possible example of how to do a voiced blank slate character,
Alrighty.
because everything that you everything that you say is entirely based on your choice. And you can react however you want to react. Play the character that you want to play, and still get your voice acting out.
And on the other end of the
and-
spectrum, by taking that slider of freedom of choice all the way down to 0, we get White Knight Chronicles, where you create your character and then never speak and never do anything.
That's not true. You get one line. You scream Leonard in the second game.
You do. Anyways, that's my segue joke to the end here, because we're at 2 hours and 3 minutes. But if you do want to finish up any thoughts on that, you can.
No. All I was saying is that I, based on Bethesda's current trends, I'm hesitant about the next Elder Scrolls game. Simultaneously, I think that they know that they need to blow this one out of the water. Otherwise, they're absolutely
Otherwise, they're fucked.
Allegedly, they're also working on it with their like main teams and putting a lot of effort into it. So I don't know. Based on Bethesda's current trends, I'm hesitant. I can see how it would be an amazing game though if they actually get their shit together on this one and go for it. Go for broke.
Yeah.
Because they really need to put everything that they possibly can in. And either way, God Howard
Yes,
once
they do.
again will make it sound like an amazing game, and then under deliver.
I will never not laugh at Todd Howard memes. Anyways, that was the podcast. I forget how we usually end. I know we scream, but I don't really have the energy to do that tonight. Something.
If-
you want to catch the podcast, doing this one first, fuck you. You can email us at an email I don't check that often at schmucksredactedcast@gmail.com. I'm not repeating.
Yes, I am. If you like me, you can find more of my personal stuff at Fox Shadow on Twitter. Additionally, Kai, where can we find you?
You can find me
I
at
think it's some
Some
underscore
conformist.
conformist. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yes. Some_conformist. I can't remember if it's the or
Or
some on different stuff.
Our group Twitter
Yes.
is at Some Schmucks on Twitter. Additionally, we have our Facebook group and YouTube, which are under the same names. And if you guys want to see more of us doing this stuff live, our Twitch is www.twitch.tv/someschmucks.
I'll eventually put more things on the YouTube. I'm really lazy. That video is like halfway done, and I haven't worked on it in days, but it'll get done. I don't know, it's so,
We'll do it.
It's fucking.
I believe in you. Also, you guys should
It's
watch.
on the YouTube. I
Matt's
don't really
other
give a
video if you
shit.
haven't already.
Bye. Cut us out,
It's really
guys.
good.
Just get the fuck out of here. I'm done.
Watch the video.
Bye.